Hello. Welcome everyone into my channel Everything PS. With UMD. In today's tutorial, we will start the Adobe Premiere Pro course from beginner to professional. Stay tuned. When you first start Adobe Premiere Pro, this is what you're going to see. This is the start screen. There are a couple of options on here. The two that we're really interested in are the option to create a new project and the option to open an existing project. A Premiere Pro project file is a file like any other one of your creative decisions are going to be stored in that file. We can open one of these up by double-clicking on them, but I'm going to show you from inside the stock screen. First of all, just going to kick back into Premiere Pro. And I'm going to click on Open Project. You should be familiar with this dialog. This is in Windows, of course. This is Windows Explorer. And if we were on Mac OS, this would be a Find to dialog. It's just going to allow us to open a file. So I'm going to select base 0101, create a project, Premiere Pro project file. And I'm going to click Open in here. We are now in Premiere Pro looking at this project. There's not much going on right now. Over the bottom right here, we've got the timeline panel. Just going to click a little earlier in the sequence here. We can see we got a number of clips all lined up ready to make a program. And when I do that, the top right in this program wants to tell you can see this is the program monitor is showing. Also lost the sequence, we get the visuals from that series of clips. Another important channel for you to be familiar with is this one down at the bottom left. This is the project panel. Any seat, every panel has its name at the top left-hand corner. This is the project panel and it's showing me the contents of the project. I've just opened 0101, create a project. Inside of this panel, I've got something that looks a bit like a folder. It's sort of been in Premiere Pro, and in that band, I've got some clips of a double click to open one of these. You can see it opens in this source monitor at the top left corner. This is for previewing the videos that you've got in your project. You can pay them back and just have a look and see if you want to use them or not. And over on the right here at the program monitor is for looking at the sequence that you're building. That's the film that you're making if you like. Okay. So that's how to open a project. I'm just going to go to the file menu and I'm going to choose Close Project. And Pretty Pros invited me to save changes. There aren't any really good. Noticed over the top here next to the project name is quite useful because we've got the location of the project as well. I'm on a Windows machine, so this is C drive rather than a system drive. For another kind of plugged-in drive, I've got this little star next to the name. That tells me that some kind of change has happened. That change might just be that I'm looking at a different part of the project, so I'm not too concerned. I'm gonna click now back on the start screen. This time I'm gonna click New Project. I'm gonna call this First Project. If I click Browse, we get a familiar Browse dialog, where we can choose the location for the new project file. You can always move it later on, of course. But I'm happy with it being here in my Media Focus Alt to select a folder. I'm not worried about the rest of the options. For now, I'm just gonna click OK. And here we are in an empty Premiere Pro project. The first thing we're gonna want to do is get some media in. Get some video files into the project. So I'm gonna go to the media browser, and the major browsers can allow me to look through the contents of my storage. To find the clips, the video follows, the photos and graphics, and someone that I want to use in my project. I'm gonna browse into the media files folder and not to pay too much attention right now. But I'm going to select some of these clips and just gonna scroll down here. And actually I think I'm pretty much happy to have all of this. So I'm going to press, in this case Ctrl A, had to be Command A on Mac OS, to select everything here. I can make individual selections if I might, but I'm happy to have all of these. I'm gonna right click on any of them and I'm gonna choose Import. And there we are now inside our project panel. We've got a list of clips. These are pieces of video. And if I double click on any of these, they open up in the source monitor for me to take a look and decide if I want to use them. So now we have a project file with some media imported. I am ready to get started reviewing our footage and editing clips together. For now though, I'm going to go to the file menu again. And I'm going to choose Close Project. I will save the changes. And we're back to the start screen. So that's opening an existing project, creating a new one, and importing some media ready for you to stop working in Adobe Premiere Pro. It's helpful to understand the key Adobe Premiere Pro interface design elements, as this will make it easier to explore the application online new features. Let's begin by opening an existing project. I'm going to double click here on this 0102 interface overview project file. And double-clicking it is going to open the project in Premiere Pro. The first thing I'm going to do here is to make sure I'm in the editing workspace. Now a workspace is really just a preset layout for the application. I'm going to move things around a little bit. Here I've got a number of different panels that I can work with. Just gonna shift these around in a really noticeable way. so that it's easy for you to see the difference. I'm right at the top of the screen. I've got this word editing, which is the editing workspace. We've got a number of different workspaces for different purposes color worker effects are doing. So let's say I know that this workspace is wrong. I'm going to click on this menu right next to the word editing. I'm going to choose reset to saved layout. That's going to put things back the way they were. I recommend that you go through this process at the beginning of every work for the following every tutorial, that you watch every book that you read on how to use Premiere Pro, because you'll find that pretty much all of the lessons that you see will use the default layout, so that people can follow along. Now on the subject of panels, I want to draw your attention to this blue highlight outline. Right now the timeline panel is active. That's where you build sequences, make movies in Premiere Pro. Now if I click the bottom left, the project panel is active. Depending on the active panel, you'll find that you get different menu options and things will work a little bit differently in Premiere Pro. So it's important to know which panel is active before you begin. Just keep an eye out for that blue outline. Each panel has a name at the top of it. Right now I mean the project panel next to the name. You'll find a panel menu just like the one we used a moment ago to reset our workspace. This menu is called the panel menu. Gives you options that relate specifically to the panel. It's supposed to be clear about which kind of menu you're looking in. Here I'm looking in the panel menu, but you'll notice, for example, on the timeline, there's a wrench icon for what's called a settings menu. In both cases you're going to see options that relate specifically to the panel you're clicking on, where you see the name of a panel. In this case the project panel, it's referred to as a tab. So here we've got the tab for the project panel. Now I'm clicking on the tab for the media browser again. It's good to know the name of that, because if you look up tutorials, you'll find that these different name headings are referred to as times. And now you'll know where you're looking. We also have a right-click menu. If I right-click on one of these items in a sequence over in the timeline panel, you can see I've got a number of options that relate specifically to clip. And you might already be able to see that selection is extremely important in Premiere Pro. I'm getting options for that clip, not the one next to it. Every panel in Adobe Premiere Pro is listed in the window menu. So if you're ever hunting for a panel, don't worry about it. Just look for it on this menu, and it'll come up when you select it. Here for example I'm choosing the media browser. And now the media process has come to the front, even though it was kind of already displayed in the interface. It was hidden behind the project panel, which I'm going to go back to right now. So now I'm going to go to the file menu. I'm going to choose Close Project, and that's an overview of the key design elements in Adobe Premiere Pro. For this lesson I'm working with projects. I want a 3 import media. And you can find that project followed with the media files associated with this lesson. You can just double click to open it. Up your projects might include video, music, voiceover, photos, graphics and animation files. Let's import some video clips and learn about the way they're linked to your project file. Going into the media browser panel, I'm just going to browse for our media. I'm going to this media files folder. On the left you've got all of the folders on your computer. On the right, using the contents of the folders you select right now. I'm here in the media files folder. The same when we looked at just now. If I double click on one of these, I'm going to double click on the script right here. It'll open in the source monitor. Once it's here I can press play if I want. Or I can take this blue so-called playhead and drag it to a different section of the video. Notice I don't have to click on the playhead to move it. I can just click where I want it to go. I'm going to select a few of these clips. I'm just going to click on the first one up here and scroll down a bit. And then hold the shift key down to make a selection and get 6 clips. I'm going to run with selected clips. And choose import, and they'll appear in my project panel. Importing a clip creates what's called a monster clip in Premiere Pro, which is really a shortcut to the media file. Under the project panel to deselect these clips. And you can see that I'm enlisted here, and I've got some information about the Michael, the frame rates and so on. That's the number frames per second for these video clips. I can also switch to the icon view by clicking this button at the bottom left-hand corner. And this is perhaps a little bit more useful. I've now got the visuals from the clips. Premiere Pro knows the location of the media files that clips linked here. And if the media moves, you'll need to tell Premiere Pro when it is within the project file. We can organize our clips using special folders called bins. And this is a term used originally by Film Editor, isn't stock when it is switched to non-linear editing. You can credit them by clicking this button at the bottom right corner of the project panel. I'm going to call this shots. Taking away to apply the name, and if I double click it'll open in this time frame. You'll notice that the band has exactly the same options that the project panel has. There's a shortcut to doing this. As well, I'm going to select 3 of these clips. and just clicking on the first one. And I'm holding the shift key and clicking on the lost. I'm gonna drag these 3 clips onto that same you've been blocked. Those clips have now been put into the van. This is our normal ready. I liked it, and if I double click you can see. I've now got my bin cool chose 2 with those clips in it. I'm just trying this so you can see the shots in as well. You can even put bands in bands. So now I'm going to select both of these bands. I'm holding the shift key down again, and I'm gonna drag them both onto the new bin button. And I'm gonna call that new bin media. And now if I double click to open this up, you can see it's a bin with 2 bins in it. So it's a bit like folders in Windows or Mac OS. Speaking of folders, if I toggle back over to our media, and I'm going to just browse up to the main media folder. I'm going to rename our media files folder something different. In fact, I just put the way different. And that changes the location of the clips. Of course, I've renamed the folder containing them. So if I go back to Premiere Pro right away, all of the kids get these questions marks the offline. And you probably just saw their Premiere Pro found the media again and relate to it. If I double click on one of these, up it comes. I'm just going to close some of these bins, because they're getting in the way in my interface. And there it is. I'm just gonna go back, and I'll undo him pressing Ctrl Z here on Windows that become on command. On Mac OS. Go back into Premiere Pro and they're just flashed up and found the major again. It's possible Premiere Pro will ask you when one of the clips are. If you've really moved into a different location on your computer. If that happens, you can just browse to the first clip is missing, and Premiere Pro will find the rest. Notice as well, if I right click on one of these clips I can choose Review in Explorer. This is revealed in Finder in Mac OS. And there's a clip highlighted. Go back into Premiere Pro. And just click on the name of this clip. I'm just clicking and then clicking again. Let's name this trees. I'm clicking away to apply the name. I'm gonna toggle back to the media. And you see that the file name hasn't changed. Remember, the clips inside of Premiere Pro really are just links to the media files. They are not the media files themselves. So renaming the shortcut doesn't change the media file. So that's an overview of importing media into your project ready to edit in Adobe Premiere Pro. For this lesson I'm working with a project file called 0104 Build a Sequence. And you can find that with the media included with this lesson. Just double click on the project file to open the clips in the project panel. A ready to be combined creativity by adding them to a sequence. Now sequence is a container, and as you may be able to tell from the name, clips added to a sequence. How organized into a series of items that will play one after another. Let's create one now. This is a simple project with just 3 clips on switch. This to the eye confused so you can see the contents of them. The kids are already imported. You can see the timeline panel says drop media here to create sequence. So let's do that. I'm gonna drag on the blank space of the project panel to lasso across these 3 clips of it, all 3 selected. And I'm gonna drag them into the timeline panel. They've been added in the order I selected them, one after another with time going from left to right. I'm just going to click and drag up here on the far left of the timeline panel, so you can see the thumbnails for the clips. This area in the timeline panel is called the track header. At the top here you can see some numbers indicating the passage of time. And if I click on those numbers you can see the blue playhead here moves to where I click. The playhead indicates the frame that I'm going to be looking at. I can play the contents of my sequence by clicking the play button on the program monitor. It becomes a stop button, so you can click that stop playback too. You can also use the space bar just like this. As the playhead moved across a cut, you'll see that we transition from one clip to another. And you can also drag the playhead across the sequence. So here I'm moving quite quickly through the content when the sequence was created, which happened when I dragged the clips into the timeline panel. It also appeared in the project panel. It has the same name as the first clip selected, and you'll notice that there's a little icon. I'm gonna click away to be selected as a different icon for sequences, as you'll see on clips to the bottom right hand corner of the thumb. Now if I quickly cons a little bit more clearly, I'm going to click on the name for this just once to select and once again to highlight the text. I'm gonna call it first sequence. How to click away to apply that. You can have as many sequences as you like. The professional editors sometimes combine sequences in creative ways. What is your tension in the timeline panel? Over here on the right to these thin lines dividing sections of the timeline panel. Each of these is a track you can put clips onto. I've put clips here onto video 1, and you can see we've got V1 volt 2 volts 3, and we have A1 A2 A3. For audio, you can just about make out the waveforms for these clips. As well, that shows how loud the audio is that's associated with these particular video clips. All the audio tracks play together, but video tracks play one above the other. So if you had a title or graphic, you would put that on and off the video track, maybe V2 or V3 to play in front of a lower track video. And audio clips is separate in the timeline. Ctrl, but because these clips came together, when you click on the video it selects the audio too. And vice versa if I were to remove a clip. And just make sure it's selected by single clicking and hit the delete key. And it's gone. I'm gonna undo that, which Ctrl-Z on Windows to become Command-Z on Mac OS. If I were to remove this clip without leaving a gap, I can hold the Shift key while I press delete. I'm gonna go back to the icon view in the project panel and find that clip again here. It is and drags it onto the timeline. You'll notice when I do it stated a big 8 too. Is just the project panel. Hey, I'm holding the Shift key down, select all 3 of these clips again. And I'm gonna right click and I'm going to choose new sequence from clip. It has the same effect as dragging the chips into an empty timeline panel. And right away you can see the new sequence have been created right here in the project panel. So that's how you build a new sequence, add and remove clips in Adobe Premiere Pro. Here we go, we are done. Leave your comments below. I hope you enjoyed it. If the video was helpful for you, to hit on the like button and subscribe. Don't forget to turn the bell button on so you don't miss the next videos. And if you have time to learn more, look at the old videos on the channel. See you in a new video soon. Goodbye.